With these, since this is the Unit 3 recap, you know that they're going to be incorporating several different concepts. In the first two, we have distributive property and we also have combining like terms. So anytime I see a bunch of minuses, I know I want to leave, change, opposite. So leave, change, opposite, leave, change, opposite. Okay, so the first thing that we would do would be parentheses. So we look inside the parentheses and there's nothing we can do with a 5c and a -8. They're not like terms. So after that comes exponents. We don't have any of those. And after that comes multiplication or division. Well, we do have multiplication. We can use the distributive property to multiply the -3 times everything inside the parentheses. So when we do that, -3 times 5c is -15c. We bring down our plus, and -3 times a -8 is a positive 24. And then we just bring down the plus sign and the 12c. And we look to see if we have any like terms, and we do. These two terms are like terms. So if we have positive 12 added to -15, that gives us a -3c. And then we would just bring down the plus 24 as our last term. Moving on to this one here, I'm going to leave, change, opposite, leave, change, opposite. Now I'm good to go. This is basically the distributive property. It's taking this entire quantity, 6d plus -4, and taking half of it or dividing by 2. And so we basically distribute the 2 that we're being divided by, we're dividing by 2, to each of these terms. So let's do the first. 6d divided by 2 would be 3d. Then we come here, we have plus, and a -4 divided by a positive 2 is a -2. And so now we are going to combine like terms. Okay, well, our 3d will get combined with our -3d, and they cancel out. You could also think of it as, well, the signs are different, so I find the difference, which means I subtract, and if I take 3d and subtract 3d, I'm left with 0. So they basically go away. Now, this is where you have to be really careful with your signs. We have a -2 added to a positive 8. A lot of you had the answer of 10. So just remember the signs are not the same. So think about what you're going to get if you have a -2 added to a positive 8. All right, moving down here, we have a square with the entire perimeter is 24x plus 16. And we want to know the length of one side. Well, because it's a square, we know that all 4 sides have to be exactly the same. And so we're basically saying we can take 4 and multiply it by something to get the perimeter of 24x plus 16. So this basically is a factoring problem. We're going to ask ourselves, what am I going to multiply 4 by, first of all, to get 24x, excuse me, and that would be 6x. And then what do I need to multiply 4 by to get 16? Well, that would be 4. And so that is the length of a side. Each side would be 6x plus 4. And if you wanted to check to make sure that it works with your perimeter, you could list them all out around the sides here. And then we know that with perimeter, we can add them all together. Well, 6 and 6 and 6 and 6, that makes 24x. And then I've got, what did I do here? It's not 14, sorry, it's 4. Mrs. Mann's brain just grew. All right, so 4 and 4 and 4 and 4 makes 16. So it does work out. The second part of this problem asks to evaluate the perimeter if x is equal to 10. So there are two ways to do this. You could either say, well, this is my perimeter, and I'm just going to use my parenthetical promise, and in place of the x, I'm going to put a 10. And then I just evaluate. 24 times 10 is 240. And when I add 16, I get 256. The other way would be to come over here and say, well, if x is 10, That means 6 times 10 plus 4 is the length of each side. 60 plus 4 is 64. So I have 64 here, and 64 here, and 64 here, and 64 here. And if I add all those up, or if I just take 64 and multiply by 4, guess what I get? I get the exact same thing. So either method would work.